everybody, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, I'm Eileen and this is Red Hot and Flashy. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. Hit that subscribe button below and that bell notification button. Click on that so that you can get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you like my video today, please give it a big thumbs up and leave me a comment. I love reading them all. So today, I thought we would talk about forgiveness. More specifically, forgiving yourself for your mistakes. That is a hard one. I struggle with it myself. You know, we all make mistakes, every single one of us. Some mistakes are bigger than others. And I think those are the ones we have trouble forgiving ourselves for. It's not good to hold on to that, to blame yourself, to not forgive yourself for those mistakes. Because if we don't move past them, we kind of get stuck in life, in a rut, maybe in a depression even. So I'm going to tell you one of my stories that I have a hard time forgiving myself for. I made the mistake. I'm divorced. I married my high school sweetheart. We were together for over 20 years, married for 15. We have 3 beautiful children who are grown now. I have a girl, boy, girl. Ashley, Christopher, Morgan. And they are 25, 21, and 20. Now, we won't get into the whole fiasco, but let's just say that the next door neighbor, couldn't find her own man. That wasn't what my mistake was. My mistake was, years later, I didn't date. Maybe I went out on a couple dates, but I didn't really date anybody until I believe it was 2010. So we're talking maybe about 5 years after my divorce. I made the mistake of letting some guy in. That guy, I got sick in 2010. Sick enough that I ended up on permanent disability, but I was hospitalized 165 days, not straight days, in a 3-year time span. And multiple surgeries, I think 8 surgeries. It was hell. Me and my kids, we went through hell. So I was dating this guy, and while I was in the hospital, he was stealing all my money and left me flat broke. And we spiraled downhill from there. Obviously, I broke up with him, and I couldn't get my money back. He fled the state. After he made my life a living hell. So to say the least, me and my kids, we really struggled. Their father wasn't really there, certainly didn't help financially. One Christmas, I let my pride get in the way. I'm a very proud person, and I didn't want to accept help. I didn't want to ask for help. Matter of fact, I didn't ask for help. But one Christmas, I literally had nothing. I had to reach out to a friend because I knew he did a lot of charity work. And even though my kids weren't little kids, Morgan was 10, I still think that they deserved a Christmas. I didn't want to cry. Anyway, my angel helped me, and I'll never, ever forget it. And once I got back on my feet, I pay it forward, always. So now, as you can see, I struggle with forgiving myself for that. 10 years later, and I still struggle with that. because it affected my children and our lives. And sometimes I think, like, you know, where would we be today if that didn't happen? Ashley took it upon herself to go get a job. She was 16, 17 at the time, so that she could help. And I was ashamed. It wasn't my fault that he stole from me, but it was my fault that I let him in my life. Yeah. So that was a bad mistake. And I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but they didn't all change, change my life. They didn't all affect us. All those mistakes that I've made in my life certainly didn't affect us the way this one did. But I'm past it. No. For the most part, I'm past it. When I think about it, I'm still very angry and upset over it, and I get mad at myself. So clearly I have not forgiven myself fully. But one thing that I refused to let happen was to make me a bitter, angry person. I didn't let it happen after I got divorced. I'm not saying I don't hate the woman. I mean, it's not all her fault. However, she went after a married man she knew had 3 children and lived right next door for years. But I didn't turn into some bitter, angry woman. I held my head up high and I faked it. I faked being happy around everybody. And I have to be honest with you. Even faking being happy eventually led to me being happy. You have to say, you know what? I messed up. I'm human. I made a mistake. But you have to forgive yourself in order to move on. And even though I say I clearly haven't forgiven myself, if it still makes me cry. But I've forgiven myself enough that I could move on in my life. And now I'm with my boyfriend for 6, almost 7 years. We bought a house together. And, positive things are happening, have started happening, after I forgave myself enough to move on. And that's what we have to do in life. We have to be able to forgive ourselves. So acknowledge that you made the mistake. Acknowledge it. Think about maybe why you made it. I know why I made it. I know why I made it. It was a stupid mistake, and I never made the same mistake again. I let somebody into my life that I would have never let in my life had I not been so down on myself and in that, that desperate place, I guess you want to say, depressed, alone, stupid. So I know why I made the mistake, or how I made the mistake, I should say. I learned from that mistake, and I never let it happen again. I would rather be alone than be with somebody that's going to hurt me and my children. And let's see. So for 4 more years, I was alone, and I was happy. I didn't need a man to complete me. And then I started dating Joe, and we've been together ever since. So I kind of forgave myself, but it still hurts. I'm not going to lie. It still hurts when I think about it, and I want to kick myself. But, I learned from it, and I will never make that mistake again. If me and Joe were to not be together for whatever reason, I'm being alone. I don't need a man in my life anymore. Sorry, Joe, I love you. One of the things we have to do in order to forgive ourselves is not only acknowledge that you made the mistake, is that you have to somehow release the guilt that you feel, the shame. I mean, I was ashamed. I was ashamed to tell people that I let this man rob me. But you somehow have to realize that, you know, in my case, I was a victim of this guy. But again, I blame myself because I let him in my life. So now I started telling people what he did and, you know, telling them how ashamed I was. And they were understanding. They were like, are you crazy? It's not your fault. He's a crook. And so I was able to, little by little, release that shame and also the doubt. That was another thing. The doubt I had in myself in all of my decisions that I was making. I started doubting myself, and it really affected me. That really affected me. I noticed that I was having trouble trusting my decisions, and I was never like that before. I could make a decision on the fly right then and there. I couldn't do that after that. I just couldn't do it anymore. And that was hard. So that's another reason why you have to forgive yourself and realize that, you know what, we're going to make mistakes. We all do. Some of them are small mistakes. Some of them are big ones. But we have to we have to learn how to forgive ourselves in order to move on in life. And in my case, being able to move on in life, and I'm not talking about moving on in life to find another, I'm not talking about moving on in terms of finding love again. I'm talking about moving on from depression and the feeling of letting my kids down. Forget about letting myself down, the self-hatred I had. But more importantly, I no longer trusted myself because I made a big, stupid mistake. So it can have major impact on our lives if we don't forgive ourselves of our mistakes. And even though, like, you know, obviously I'm still emotional about it because it was a big one that affected me and my children in a bad way. But I moved past it. But when I think about it, if I talk about it today, I'm still angry at him. But I'm angry at myself for allowing the whole situation to happen. So I guess I haven't fully forgiven myself. But I have forgiven myself enough to trust myself again, to trust my decision-making ability, and to trust that I'm making the right decisions in life. And since that happened, yeah, I think I've been making pretty decent decisions. My life is better. I'm healthier. Thank God. Yeah, I haven't had a surgery in a few years now. So, yay. That's huge. My kids are happier, you know, and one thing I have to say in finding a silver lining, because another subject for another time is positivity. It has made my children stronger, you know, as far as the divorce is concerned and, you know, everything that happened through that. It was very hard, a hard time. They got through it. I helped them get through it. We got through it together. Me being sick, we got through together. And I think it made all of us stronger. And it certainly has given my children life lessons that they've taken into adulthood in making their own decisions in life and being strong enough to get through situations. So that's the silver lining I find around those, you know, life lessons. I don't know, what do you call them? So I don't know that I have much more advice on this subject, only because I do struggle with it myself. But forgiving yourself is very important. Love yourself enough to forgive yourself. And remember, everyone makes mistakes. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. I hope I've helped you a little bit today and maybe feel a little better about any mistakes you've made in life. And remember, life always gets better. It doesn't stay bad forever, the situation. Just remember that. Keep that in mind and forgive yourself. Love yourself enough to forgive yourself. Thanks for coming by. Until next time, everyone. Bye.